The Fightin Blue Hens are going bowling. Let's jump into how we got there. We've talked about it for weeks on how Delaware could find itself in a bowl game. Half the battle was the Blue Hens doing their own job, winning one more game after homecoming. They made it close, but they still got it in comfort, taking down the UTEP Miners 61-31, winning the final quarter 20-0 to close out a 5-1 season in the tub. Producer Brody Hamilton, I'll give you the first word here. How was this game day experience for you? A dominant win. It took a while to get there, but Delaware handling business to send UTEP out of Conference USA for good. I want to dive into every side of the ball, but I first wanted to get your initial thoughts on the final home game of the season.
Well, it was a comfortable win if you look back on it. You know, if you watch the replay like I did, then it feels comfortable the whole time. But speaking as anyone who's ever been watching a game that has something on the line, no lead is a safe enough lead. No lead is a good enough lead. It did feel like every time Delaware took a lead, whether it be 7, 10, or 17 points, UTEP would kind of claw back just a little bit. It really reminded me of the Campbell game from last year, which might be a deep cut for some people, but the way that we played Campbell, they kept hanging around. This is a team that we should have beaten. Of course, North Carolina, not quite as known for its warm weather as El Paso, Texas, but still known for being warmer. Having them come all the way up to Delaware, still not quite as long as of a travel, but still notable for the FCS. Hanging around until the fourth quarter where the Blue Hens finally pull away for good. But there's just a whole lot that happened. There's a lot of scoring. There's a lot of blown coverages, but also a lot of huge plays for Delaware as well. The offense really popped off in a way that we haven't seen this year. They scored the most points they've scored since Westchester in 2000, which is pretty great. It's good to see the offense finally popping off, especially if we're going to go ahead and win this bowl game coming up. There's a lot of good stuff to build on, not just for this upcoming bowl game, but into next season as well. You love seeing kind of going out on a positive note like this. It just warms the heart.
I think I want to touch on the bowl game aspect of this because, of course, we talked about this bowl tracker for months, and after the homecoming Louisiana Tech game, we knew we just had to get to one more of these last, I guess, 3 at that point, and we started the bowl tracker at Feathers and Field Goals. And I was nervous that, I can't lie, after the Sam Houston game, I was nervous maybe I put a little jinx on us. I even tweeted when I put it out, I'm superstitious. I'm a former baseball player, nervous to step on the foul line when you're stretching in warm-ups. Like in that history, when I posted the bowl tracker, I was like, oh, man. After that Sam Houston loss, I was like, of course, like we play Wake coming up, so like it's really coming down to this UTEP game. And I predicted 5-7 to start the year. Brody and Dan predicted 6-6, and I was nervous it's going to come down to this. And I don't want to be right. I don't want to be right that it's 5-7. I want a chance at a bowl, and it came down to Alabama, which it's so funny that a shout out to Scott Claxton was shouting out that in the broadcast, and it did actually like really come down to that game. There was a couple of like light underdogs that won that we needed to win. And there's a couple light favorites that Delaware would have needed to win that lost. So like it did come down to the Iron Bowl and Bama, and it went our way, and Delaware got to the bowl. But before we got that, Dan, I was showing you the scores in the stands when we're trying to worry about the Blue Hens to win, but we knew we had to score watch just a little bit. I was with the Steenkammer family for this one, and I loved it. I loved every moment of it. It was so fun to sit with you guys and Shex and Jay. Great conversations all throughout 60 minutes. But senior day was a fun one. Similarly, just talk about your overall thoughts on this one. We'll get to the offense, defense, special teams specifically, but what were your overall thoughts?
Seeing ingredients come together all in one game. I mean, you don't surpass 60 points without having a bunch of ingredients all playing in a factor and coming in cohesively. So I'm thinking of takeaways created by Delaware's defense, pass pressure by Delaware's defense, thinking about sacks that really lit the place up, and Delaware's rushing game. getting breakaways, having the efficiency of the yards per carry. I want to verify. I mean, the difference in yards per carry was really stark. You take a look at the team yards per rush. Delaware was just under 6, and UTEP was under a yard per carry. So that is just, captures a lot without even mentioning quarterback play and Nick Minicucci, who we'll get to talk with and a lot about later. So, yeah, I think those major ingredients, ground game, takeaways, and pass pressure, love to see that all happen in a regular season finale. I mean, that much more meaningful for it to be capping off the regular season in that style that we haven't seen at Delaware Stadium in a little while, to put it one way. So for it to be one of those cases where, much like Louisiana Tech, I was kind of treating it like a playoff game, survive in advance, and with the results happening elsewhere, we touched on it. Now it's time for the advance.
A couple highs for Ryan Carty, of course, offensive play caller, but on the defensive side of the ball, when he was the head coach here as the Delaware Blue Hen. But Dan, I'm going to keep with you on the offensive side of the ball, his bread and butter. Let's start with that. I don't think it's an argument that it was the smoothest that they've looked all season. The UConn game, of course, they put up 44 points, but had like a middle of the way, like kind of like silence, I would say. But this one kind of felt like they were moving this entire time. A couple of punts, but punts put them in the field position to get the ball back. And I think I said to you and Brody in the stands that the offense and defense kind of works together almost. If the offense is clicking, the defense is clicking, and vice versa. But specifically on the offensive side of the ball, why was it such a great day, and what stood out to you?
Well, protecting the ball, it starts with protecting possession with Delaware this season. Listeners throughout the year, they don't need to hear us say that. And no interceptions. Nick Minicucci, 3 touchdowns. And then getting back to Delaware's rushing game, seeing the variety of different scores on the ground game. Nick Minicucci, a rushing touchdown. Joe Silver getting back on the board with a rushing TD. That was really good to see in Silver's return. Greg Spiller with the long carry of 55 yards. There's a touchdown for Greg Spiller there. So I really think that that is a key highlight here. Not to mention Kyrie Duplessis in the passing game, breaking back out as far as his totals of over 100 yards receiving on 4 receptions. So those averages there are pretty strong. How about Jake Thal, who I think we'd seen kind of throughout the course of the year, just different ebbs and flows in Jake Thal's target share, but to have Thal be on the board in the form of 2 touchdowns receiving. I mean, Sean Wilson is lately been so reliably crossing 50 yards receiving. And it's not to mention like Scott Moore. How about Scott Moore rebounding from earlier in the year with a touchdown reception, his first. So yeah, it was one of those where it's just exactly how the Delaware offense is kind of drawn up, right? Like, yes, late first half, the door was left ajar for UTEP, and then the halftime score was really actually pretty manageable for the Miners. Like, it wasn't as if the game was out of hand, even though Delaware had it under control generally was the vibe. So setting aside the, maybe spurts in the game in the middle eight area where UTEP did, kind of Brody talked about it, UTEP did kind of just hang with and claw in there, and UTEP had done that throughout its schedule. In the end, the variety of different ways Delaware scored made it impossible for the road team to keep it close, and actually it kept UTEP from having the ball at the very end. It was Delaware's ball at the very end, and we saw what Delaware did with it to close out the game.
So cool to see Jake Thal get back into the end zone twice. Kyrie Duplessis, as you mentioned, Sam Houston and Wake, you could tell their defense really tried to take him out of it. Leading receiver in Conference USA before those 2 games, finally got over that 100-yard mark again on 4 catches. And my favorite was Joe Silver getting back in the end zone. I remember telling you, Dan, give the ball to Joe here. Just get him back in the end zone and get him back flowing here. The most offensive yards in a game all season, finishing with 527, which was 15 more than the UConn game. So the UConn overtime game gave the offense a little, I think it had to be exactly 25 more yards in that extra time, but it wasn't enough to overtake what they did at UTEP. And I guess the scoreline shows 61. But who helped the 61 points was a defensive 6 for the first time in a long time, Brody. The defense was kind of a weird one. When you look at the outside of it, 5 interceptions, 1 fumble return for a touchdown, 2 turnovers on downs, and 4 punts. If you don't even know the point total against, you're thinking like they might have held them within single digits. Explosive plays were an issue in this one for the first 3 quarters, especially. UTEP had some plays go for like almost like past half field, almost full field touchdowns on big plays and on like kind of money downs almost. And a couple of them on third downs, so big plays leaking out, especially on the outside, the kind of those fade routes outside going to touchdowns. But besides that, the defense, of course, did enough on their side of the ball to help the offense get to that 61-point total.
Yeah, that's right. You had and Myson Pollard with 2 interceptions. You had Eatman, Kellick and Nate Evans each with 1. It's a performance that I haven't seen in real life, I don't think ever, between the breakaway big plays for the UTEP wide receivers and the amount of turnovers that Delaware got. It actually reminds me of the way that I play defense in Madden. They don't score unless they get on the sideline and all my guys are blitzing. That's kind of how it goes. You had a 23 Davis Jr., 112 yards on just 3 receptions, a 68-yard touchdown reception. I would have just kept throwing it to him all game. You had a Kenny Odom breakaway for a touchdown as well, for 50 yards. But I say this all the time, and I'm vindicated in this week. If you stop the run, it stops everything else. You can't just pass all day, as much as some people want to. That's what UTEP would have done if they could, but they couldn't run the ball at all. They couldn't run the ball in clutch situations. If they ran the ball on first down, if they were lucky enough to get to second down, as we saw with Gavin Moll's strip 6. Then they're backed up. They probably lost yards on first down if they ran it, and then that puts them in a bad situation. They lived and died off the big play, and Delaware they gave up a few, but not quite enough to let them get back into this game long term. But yeah, like I said, it's a defensive performance I don't think I've ever seen before. At least not in real life. Maybe there's some Big 12 games from back in the day when they used to be like this. But yeah, I don't know. The offense just did exactly what they had to do. Of course, 31 points you don't want to be giving up, but when you almost double that on offense, you get 5 takeaways. You can live with that.
And of course, you think about when the special teams fumbled the kickoff to start the second half, and the defense held for 3. Like you're thinking about that's 11-point game. If UTEP scores and goes for 2 and gets it, like that's a 3-point game. 8 versus like 3 is a big difference in vibes, I guess, heading into what would have been at that point the final, I guess, like 27 minutes in that one. So, like the defense did its job. I mean, and Coach Cardi took full accountability. Like what I think gave UTEP some momentum there in the first half of the middle 8 was, I think it was the Myson Pollard first interception on the sideline there. You're thinking Delaware has a chance to extend this lead even more heading into half. I think at that point it was what 31 to 14 it would have been at that point. And first, I mean, all 3 downs, first, second, and third down, incomplete passes. So you probably didn't even take 15 to 20 seconds off the clock there, and UTEP ended up going down and scoring there to make it a 2-possession game before half. And I appreciate the accountability, but looking back, I think that was a momentum. Just thinking about defense, as you said, 26 rushing yards, at least in the Cardi era. Thinking about all the years we played the CAA teams, the other FCS teams, like that's pretty astonishing.
I mean, it's less than like Sacred Heart, It's less than playing a team like that or who's moving down to D3. I always get Sacred Heart and St. Francis confused. SHU, SFU, they have the exact same letter mark with the 3 in the both like red and white. Either way, it's less than both of those who we've played both of, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, and even and that kind of helps when you get a season high 14 tackles for loss, which is tied for the 7th most in a game across FBS this entire season. The team's 6 turnovers are the most in the Ryan Cardi era. Gavin Moll, big part of that, 13 tackles, a fumble recovery to the house. I know he shouted out Ethan Saunders, which we just talked about this past week on the podcast. His, I guess I wouldn't say a strip sacks, but like kind of a pickup and score against Sacred Heart in that game that we just talked about, and Gavin scoring there. Pollard, that's his second it's funny, 4 interceptions this year, but only in 2 games, 2 against FIU and then 2 against UTEP. True freshman Jamarian Bodie, first career INT. Nasir Eatman, shout out SMAC conference to North Point. That's where I grew up in that era. That's his second interception in as many games. So a good sign for ball magnets for the future of this defensive 3-high life in the future. Merge Malumba, I think Merge stood out a lot from the stands. A career high 9 tackles, had 1.5 tackles for loss and a pass breakup. The 2 guys on the 3 highlight that really stood out: James Yelbert Jr., career high tackles, sacks, and tackles for loss. Keyshawn Hunter, 2.5 tackles for loss and a half a sack from 7 tackles. Nate Evans, second interception of the year, as Brody said, in as many home games. If you remember that tipped ball that he got against Louisiana Tech there as well, third of his career, but second in 2025. Special teams. I'm excited to talk about this one because at this point the game's over. It's 58-31. Louisiana. I'm talking about Louisiana Tech. The UTEP gets a turnover on downs here, and Delaware, 1st and 10 on the left hash, takes kind of a sweeping motion and downs it in the middle of the field. Second down knee. Timeout. 1 second left. Takes the field goal as time expires. There's a lot of controversy on this online. Delaware kicks the field goal. And I want to preface this as Nate Reed, single game, as this kick goes in to make it 61-31. Single game record in kicking points with 19. Also set the record for most 40-plus yard field goals in a season in program history with 7. This program didn't know it had a 13th game at this point. A lot of games had to happen after them. This was kind of like the kick to end the first season in this new era. Dan, what were your thoughts from this moment? I think all 3 of us are standing next to each other at this point. I see a lot of controversy on, was this the right thing to do? Was it not? I told you this whole time. Me personally, it had to break records, and it did. But overall, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I agreed with you in the moment that this had to be something where there's a record involved. There's some kind of like personal achievement that's on personal. The team accomplishes it all at once, like in working in concert. So when I say personal achievement, I'm defining it, still acknowledging that it's the whole operation, right, on these kicking situations. But for Nate Reed, in particular, think about what he's meant to this season. Even just keeping Delaware alive in the game at Sam Houston, I think did a lot for just the vibes of coming out of that game and thinking, well, Delaware still fought and scrapped to the very end, having a chance on the road on a night where Delaware didn't play up to its potential. So Nate Reed, of all players, deserved one last opportunity in this home game, in this senior day setting. So a situation where I look at as this is a coach who's decided to take that chance, have a player's back, show the entire team, show the entire locker room, I've got your back, in a case where a player's really earned a lot of opportunities all year and taken advantage and delivered for his team. Yes, it would be annoying to be on the receiving end of this. I completely understand. If I were wearing a pickaxe hat, I'd be sitting here now, probably very just very irritated that's how the regulation expires on the final game of the season for my team in that scenario. Completely understand that, but then you can always bring up the point of, hey, look, by that point, you've allowed Delaware to dictate the terms in the fourth quarter. Delaware dictated the terms in the fourth quarter. You can see it on the fourth quarter scoreboard. So I do think that some folks have a point in the situation where they bring up, yeah, this might not have been the call if UTEP were remaining in Conference USA and you were going to run into them on the conference schedule in next season or in a future year. But heck, okay, that's not that situation. That's only hypothetical. The situation was the call that was made, of course, and I'm relieved that the kick was good because it would have been optically pretty. Now, I'm not questioning Nate Reed's ability. I'm just saying, as long as we're talking about hypotheticals, imagine if the kick had been missed, it would have been a more awkward way for the game to conclude. And I guess Coach Walden and UTEP wouldn't have been as upset because Delaware would have looked a little more on the foolish side. But I don't think the idea of providing a player an opportunity to have that meaningful an achievement, to have that single game points kicking record, like that to me, it checks out. It makes sense. It was like the only explanation that you pointed out, Bryce. So I guess I've given it more time. I've gone in a couple circles now, but I don't think that for the amount of attention it's gotten among Delaware fans, it's like, hold on a second. Like, let's appreciate the bigger picture of getting that win in the style that it was in the end.
I get Birdie. Before I give my thoughts, I want to get yours.
It's just like you could not ask me to care about this. Like at all. Like, what are we doing talking about this for more than a few seconds? Not us in the podcast, but us as a fan base. I think that's because it's garnered so much negative attention by Blue Hens faithful. I think we have a right to talk about it here, but kind of in a grander scheme, like what are we doing? Like talking about this? Like who cares? I think my biggest takeaway is that like obviously great for Nate Reed, hell of a season for Nate Reed. I'm glad he got his records. He deserved them. He probably also has the one for most onside kicks successful in a season. Probably imagine, unless we're going back to the late 1800s where the onside kick was the primary way of advancing the ball. But I don't know. This doesn't happen if Scotty Walden isn't taking timeouts with 2 minutes to go, down 25 or 30 points. Like, that's what we should be talking about. Is that I was in, like, we were all like in section J, talking about how like what the hell is this dickhead doing, taking timeouts down this much? He just wants to extend the length of the game. Hey, newsflash! If he doesn't take those timeouts, we never get the opportunity to kick those extra 3 points. It's on him. And then to go after the game, the only clips of him post game I could and I did look for his little presser that he did off to the side of the stadium. The only clips that I found was of him talking about the kick. How about talking about the piss poor performance that you coached instead? I think that's what, if I'm wearing a pickaxe hat, that's what I'm more concerned with. And that's kind of that's the consensus that I've also seen from UTEP hands online, is that they don't care about this. What they care about is maybe getting rid of their head coach. And that's what I've seen a whole lot more than I've seen anything talking about this, these extra 3 points. I've seen people say it's Bush League. I've seen people say that it's bad karma. Guys, I don't care. I'm sorry, I don't. I'm glad that Nate got his record, but there's no reason for us to be bitching and moaning about this because it really doesn't matter.
One other aspect of this would be, I do want to clarify, look, like I would respect, it's kind of an obvious indicator of whatever kind of your palate is, right, as like a football fan. So if like your palate is predisposed for, yeah, I just want to kind of like play it like the traditional, like how it's kind of written in the unwritten rules, go ahead and finish this one out, take the final knee, then I understand that this would offend those sensibilities. So I completely get, like, it's really just like a personality test to me. Like, it's just a personality test of how you approach football mentally, emotionally. Like,
That's a great
that's
point.
all.
I really
And
like that.
I think that if Karma was really coming for Delaware after kicking the game-ending field goal, it would have come in the form of that Iron Bowl ending. Like, that's where Karma would have been. Like, so
Yeah.
to me, I'm not even worried about that now. Like, Karma, like, the Karma was on the line in that final game in terms of outcomes affecting Delaware's bowl path. So that's how I look at it at the end of the night.
Yeah, you both covered what I was going to say. Like the UTEP called timeouts with 2:22 and 2:16 left, and I understand that they're trying to extend the game at that point, but you're down 27. I mean, shout out to, it was 4th and 9 that they got a holding call UTEP on offense to make it 4th and 19. They got 11 yards the next play, which would have been a first down if they didn't get a holding, but since they had the holding, it gave Delaware the ball on their own 27. So like at that point, you're thinking that is in Nate Reed range to get not just one record of the kicking points, but now it's the 40 plus yards at the 27 at that point. So UTEP kind of fed into the hands, and like I don't think UTEP fans are too upset about this. I think actually this is actually a lot of the stuff we're seeing online might be coming from the Delaware fans. Um,
Absolutely.
Being upset from it, which like Dan, I think it's a fair point that you just made, because like to be honest, if I'm on the other end of it, I don't know how happy I am, because like it's not a good feeling. Like, but at the same time, like I think the UTEP fans understood like the first 58 we should talk about more than the last three. Like only culture and like good vibes and like we play the right way takes you so far, in what your messages and weekly media that I've listened to Coach Walden his time at UTEP. Like I'm curious to watch UTEP as they go to Mountain West. That's all I'll say because I think the message. I understand the frustration, but it seems like a weekly message of I'm winning the press conference and like it doesn't like. All right, let's move on from this because like Delaware, the end of the game didn't matter because shout out Nate Reed.
Yeah, and
That's
there's
all
so
I'm
much
gonna.
more to talk about than like this particular call. I honestly can't believe that the people talking about this are talking about this and not talking about going to a bowl game in year one of FBS. You know, like focus
That
on
should be
what
the focus on
matters.
this. And
I
like
think
we're gonna
we kind of walk and chew gum though. Like, I mean, we've
Right.
got a long podcast
Of
every week for a
course.
reason. Like, there is a
There's
lot
an
going
hour
on.
worth of
There's a lot
stuff to
going on
talk
here.
about every week, but I'm just putting it
and we're
out
gonna
there.
get and we're gonna get to this fun bowl stuff because I'm excited to kind of there's the second half of this Saturday game that I want to talk about because all three of us were tuned in together watching this game, and I think like the Iron Bowl was really the only game that really mattered to us based off the other games at this point in time. But before that, I want to get into conversation that Dan and I have with QB1 Nick Minicucci, just reviewing this past week and where he was for this bowl watching at this point in time and just how it was from his perspective on 2025 of the season. So let's jump into our conversation here at Feathers and Field Goals with Nick now after this. Super excited to continue inside the huddle now that the season has continued for the Delaware Blue Hens. First time on the show. Been looking for the perfect time to get him on with us, and this felt like the perfect opportunity now that the season's extended itself a little bit. So excited to finally have QB1 Nick Minicucci on the show with us. So Nick, thanks for joining with us here at this part of the season.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
I want to dive into the season in full, but I wanted to look into what's ahead. But first, I want to focus on this past Saturday. How did it feel for the offense to get back in a groove with being inside the tub to close out the first regular season in FBS and in Conference USA? 61 points as a team, as
Yeah.
we talked about before we started recording. But the defense adding to that tally as well. The offense had a great day in both the run and the pass.
Yeah, I think we kind of put it all together on Saturday, run and pass game wise. I think we struggled in the past with running the ball a little bit, and I think we kind of relied on the pass a little too much. But getting Joe and Byron in the mix on Saturday was huge. I mean, Joe's first game back, he was averaging 9.1 a carry. So, I mean, that's sick. So, and then, you got guys like Gavin, first career touchdown, and 6 turnovers on defense. I mean, it's hard to lose when you have 6 turnovers. So, yeah, we kind of put it all together on Saturday, but I think this is just a start we got another game, bowl game wise, and for the 2026 season, I think we're kind of all putting it together right now. And it feels great to click on all cylinders.
And hey, Nick, following up on the UTEP game, Bryce, this just felt like a natural follow-up here, talking a little bit more about Saturday. Your offensive line in front of you, no sacks on Saturday, at least by my count. You can check me on that. But I'm pretty sure there wasn't a sack at all that you experienced on Saturday. Coming off of, it was a long trip at Sam Houston, and that was a tough one where you felt more pressure than you had before. It had to feel really good to be in rhythm on that end as well.
Yeah, I mean, the O-line has been balling all year. I think they kind of all put it together. Like I said before, it's good when you have the same 5 guys in there rotating and getting more reps each week in practice and in games, so everyone's on the same page, and it's easier when you have people around you that you trust, and then when they trust you, it's a whole lot easier. And I think the boys have gotten a lot better, and I'm just excited for what the future holds. Because right now next year we only lose 1. We only use Finn, so I think and he's a huge key to our O-line. He's a baller. I mean, he's probably one of the best linemen I've been around. A great guy, great teammate, great leader. So definitely going to miss him next year, but we are only losing 1. So that's also huge.
This has been a historic season for yourself, many teammates, and the program as a whole. From your perspective, you're thinking about how UTEP capped off the 2025 season, and now we know the 2025 season isn't over, but thinking about the 12 games that you knew were on the schedule in the spring, just how has it been in your eyes?
Personally, I wanted to win every game. That's just me. And when people were like, oh, if we have 5 or 6 wins, I'm going to be happy. I was like, no, we need 9 wins. But I think going 6-6 first year in Conference USA is huge. First year FBS. I mean, how many teams are doing that? Kennesaw only won 1 game last year. and look at them this year. So it's like a lot of teams are building. I mean, Missouri State's 7-3 as well. So I think Conference USA is a great league. I think we are just getting started here.
Taking a look at your career overall now, and not that we're only looking back, and there's a lot more to look forward to, including here this postseason, but Bryce really summed it up in our show notes. Thinking back to 2023, you had to step in that Villanova game when both Ryan and Zach went down. Last year, you had many opportunities to run the offense through the regular season, that last season of FCS football. This year in the fall, battling for the starting job, didn't have it right away at the outset, but then as the year went on after Delaware State, really, we all know, all listeners and viewers know, the rest is history.
Yep.
It's one thing to have everybody on the outside say next man up and just on to the next and turn the page, but you've talked a fair bit about your preparation in the past, and you've emphasized that a lot. Being ready when your number is called, how has that evolved this season? It seems like you've owned every moment, and there have been a lot of big moments with the spotlight on this team and this program this year.
Yeah, I think, not being named the starter kind of put a chip on my shoulder, kind of pissed me off a little bit. But I think Zach is a great quarterback, and I think I really understood where they were going with that. Experience-wise, he's a great player, and I just prep very hard. Like, I watch a lot of film. I'm meeting extra with coaches every week, so I think my prep was stellar. I was really ready for the opportunity, like I've been since my true freshman year. So I think where my number's called, I'm always ready, but that's just because of coaches and because I watch a lot of film, because I really just care. So
taking it back, hold on one second, Bryce, I apologize. We were just going to take it back to the UTEP game, right, Bryce, with the very end of how we hit over 60 points on Saturday. Nate Reed's out there for the final kick. There's been a lot of discussion after the fact about it's not something you see a decision made as often to have a point scored closing out the game when the team's ahead. And there's been different reactions among the Delaware fan base. But Nick, from the perspective inside the locker room, what does that do for the team when you see the coach having the players back? Nate Reed's been there for his team this year. He gets that opportunity to have a special achievement. And we didn't know if that might be the final game of the season. Yeah. I'm wondering if there's an effect on the locker room seeing a coach have his players back like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun to play for someone who really cares about you guys and wants you to succeed in everything you do. So I love Coach Carty, the way he goes about it, the program, very detail-oriented, player-first mindset. I think it's easy to rally behind someone like that. And I love that we kicked the field goal at the end of the game. I wanted to score a touchdown, personally, because, they're calling timeouts down 30. So it's like we might as well just put another one in. These guys are trying to call timeouts with a minute left. So it's like it's pretty funny what Coach Carty said at the end of the game, that guy, but I don't think I could say it on here. But it was pretty funny. And I love being around a guy who cares and loves this program.
Thinking about the other side of the ball in this game, you mentioned it in your opener, just 6 turnovers. When the defense creates as many turnovers as it did on Saturday, how does that change the trajectory of the offense the rest of the way? I'm sure you want to stay off the field as little as possible yourself on offense.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, we've struggled in the past with getting turnovers, and we've struggled on offense turning the ball over, and that starts with me. But I think having 6 turnovers on defense, it just boosts the morale of the team. It's like, holy, we had 6 turnovers, we had 5 interceptions. It's like our defense was lights out. And it kind of just, it just really helps the team out. Because, all right, now we're back on the field. Offense is back on the field. So keeping us on the field as much as possible is successful for me, and I think. I want to be on the field at all times.
Thinking about this regular season, so many peaks and valleys, having to come off the field on tough breaks, the ball not bouncing Delaware's way at times. Obviously don't want to put the ball on the ground to begin with, but in close games, seeing those highs and lows within each game, and Delaware coming out on top in some occasions and doing enough to reach the postseason. Centering on those difficulties, though, what would you say were your biggest challenges faced in the regular season? So much was new places, dealing with different things coming up throughout the way. You were questionable one game on the availability report and toughed it out. So what were some of those biggest challenges that stand out as you look back?
I'd say going into certain places. I'd say if I had to say one thing about the season that I want to fix, being a better road team. I think we need to build on that, be in tough situations, tough tough atmospheres. Like Wake Forest was a heck of a team and a tough atmosphere. Same with Colorado. And I think if we boost that, we get better at playing on the road, I think we're going to be a hard team to beat. And also, like, just holding on, as I said before, holding on to the ball. I mean, the ball's the program. And if the ball's in our hands, they can't win. So I'd say being smarter with the football.
Nick, I've probably listened to each of your interviews this season with different media outlets, and I'm sure many listeners to Feathers and Field Goals have done the same. Countless of times you stated how much you hone in on that underdog mentality. You're leading the conference in passing this season, more eyes and recognition on yourself and on Delaware football entirely this year. How do you maintain feeling like the underdog? I'm sure it's a mentality you'd like to keep, not just like for one more game in 2025, but 2026 and beyond as well.
Yeah, I'd say people always counted me out. I'd say wasn't highly recruited in high school, had 5 Division I offers. Delaware wasn't even a full scholarship. I took this chance on a half scholarship because I bet on myself. And Coach really was Coach Goldie. He said, I want you to come here. He's like, if you do what you're supposed to do and you perform at a high level, you'll be put on full scholarship. And he bet on me and I bet on myself. And it was the greatest decision I ever made, was coming here and also not being named the starter this year. I mean, that's another piece of motivation that I have. And I don't know if you guys ever heard this, but I watch something each week that kind of makes me mad, and I get real motivated for each week. So that's just something I do because I want extra motivation, not just because I'm the underdog, because I want to just have people bet on me more. And I feel like I've never had someone who's betting on me until recently. I feel like the atmosphere in Delaware and the love in Delaware is starting to hit, and it feels amazing to have people who really believe in you and trust in you. And but still, I'm going to keep the same mindset. I'm all about the team. That's really on me. I never really want to talk about myself because that's not the type of guy I am. I don't care about any of my achievements unless we win. So, and that's just how I've been. That's how I've always been.
Hey, Bryce, I gotta wonder if Ed's ever clipped a clip from our episode and sent it over to Nick. I wouldn't think so, maybe. I mean, we're pretty Delaware friendly. Yeah, we try to keep it real, but I try to keep it real. I've mentioned, Nick, you give Delaware a chance, in each game. And whenever there are doubters, it's just like it's playing in your favor, right? And playing in your mentality that Bryce just asked about. But I wanted to ask also about Saturday, about last week, after the win over UTEP. Understanding other results needing to take place. Bryce and I were doing math, and the bowl tracker at feathersandfieldgoals.com wanted to plug that one more time because now it's tracking different locations for possible bowl sites. But what were you up to after the game against UTEP, other than, of course, like recovering and just recuperating a little bit? But then the Iron Bowl, it came down to that math and seeing the outcome there. Were you watching that game live? If so, like, where were you watching? Was it a little bit of a watch party? And
it was basically the entire team at my house watching the Iron Bowl. Yeah, everyone at my house listening to music, watching the Iron Bowl. So, yeah, when they fumbled, Auburn fumbled at the end of the game, we're like, oh my God, we're in. But also, like, I didn't really know if we were in. I didn't know what else needed to happen for us to get in there, but I'm glad it did. And this is special. 6-6, first year FBS, going to a bowl game. I mean, this is special.
I'm sure you want to play anywhere that I think there's 14 bowls listed that Conference USA has tie-ins. I'm sure you'd like to take any of those locations. But if you've seen that list, do you have a specific place or places that you would like to see this 13th game come to?
To be honest, I don't care. I don't care where or when. I just want to play in a bowl game, and if they say we're playing somewhere, I'm there. I could care where it is or what time it is. I just want to be in one.
Hey, Nick, with the historic nature of this season and how it's evolved and the success of reaching the wins threshold and going on to the postseason, how has it been for you navigating just thinking about what your legacy is almost shaping up to be? I mean, Delaware's got the QB tradition that is often shared and used in recruiting, and rightfully so. And now it just feels like, Ed has compiled and mentioned in the game notes different records that you're in play for and the things that you've achieved. How has it been for you considering and reflecting on that success, but also the focus you've already talked about here on the show? I mean, it seems more and more like Bryce and I and others are thinking about the legacy you're leaving, but we're all still in the middle of it.
Yeah, I haven't really given it much thought. I mean, Ed kind of showed me some of the records. It was on a paper when we did the interview with Coach the other day, and I thought it was pretty cool how close I was to breaking some of those or tying some of those. I thought it was really cool. But I mean, records are records. I mean, but wins are wins, and I'd rather win than break a record, to be honest with you. Because as I said before, I'm not about me. This is nothing about me. This has never been about me. It's about us. So, as long as we win a bowl game, if I break a couple records here and there, that's cool. But I'd rather win a bowl game.
The bowl game's a good opportunity to close out the 2025 season. Like you said, Fenton, a part of the line that won't be there next year. And of course, you have a lot to build on for next year with this game, but still focusing on the teammates that are going to be here for this final game. A fun one to finish you here with, Nick. Speaking of yourself here, though, and thinking about the guests we've had on the show this season, Joe Silver, Fenton, who was on with us last week, they both mentioned to us how much they don't like you taking as many hits as you do throughout the year. I'm sure plenty of people are in your ear about this, but you can't change who you are, right? It's football.
Yeah.
You want to get hit as much as possible.
I've kind of gotten out of that as much. I learned how to dive, and I took out a guy this weekend. He ran into his teammate, got a little banged up on the hit, but I'm trying not to take as many hits because after that Middle Tennessee game where I was seeing stars, I'd rather not get hit as much because I want to stay in the field as much as possible, really. But yeah, I mean, I like to get hit. I got a linebacker mentality, kind of. And I've always been told that. I kind of got to get away from that because I'm going to turn to Jackson Dart. I mean, he's getting lit up in the league right now, and I'd rather that not be me. So, yeah, got to play it smart a little more.
Yeah, we're going for Josh Allen here, right? Not Jackson Dart.
Nah, yeah, Josh Allen's that's how I try to play. Yeah, but he's taking too many hits too, so I got to be smart.
Hey, always something to study and build on, right? Yeah. Hey, I guess this is a quick one. I'm just curious to wedge in while we've got a little bit of your time still. What's kind of the schedule like, this new schedule that this program hasn't experienced before in the FBS, certainly, where there's the lead up to the reveal of the bowl destination, and then just what's the team schedule like in terms of maybe recuperating, taking a little bit of time off, but obviously still staying sharp and all those kind of things?
Yeah, so we don't really know who we're playing, so I have no one to really watch film on yet. So I've kind of just been sitting in my house watching some shows. First time I've really got to just sit down and just chill for a little bit. It feels good, but feels weird. I feel like I'm late when I wake up in the morning at 7 o'clock because I still can't sleep in. I feel like I'm late to things. But, yeah, we just kind of been hanging out. We got a workout tomorrow, I believe, at 9:30, and then Friday at 9:30, and then a quick practice on Sunday. So that's our schedule for right now. That's all I know. But we're just trying to get our bodies back, get our bodies right for this upcoming game so we can stay as healthy as we can.
Well, Nick, you deserve some rest, and excited now to know that we're going to see you and the rest of the team have a 13th game coming up, and we're all excited to figure out this location together, so it'll be really fun. But overall, just thanks for joining us on the show, and thanks for the 2025 season in hand so far. It's been fun to watch you lead the offense. It's been fun to watch Delaware football in its first season of FBS, and just thank you for you said you're feeling like you're late to things, but thanks for giving us some time here as we kind of wait for that next spot. So appreciate you, and
thank you guys.
Excited for the rest of this season and the rest of your career wearing the blue and gold.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Thank you, Bryce. Welcome back to the Pecking Order, obviously my weekly power rankings segment here on the pod. And it's just about wrapped up. The regular season's wrapped up. We also know who's going to be in the conference championship game. And if we've paid any attention to home versus away records for who's playing, we probably know who's going to win the conference championship game. Of course, putting the cart before the horse there. But I want to go into this pecking order just a little bit differently because it is the end of the year, because we know what our order is. I want to compare my week 15 or maybe postseason pecking order with the preseason bowl confidence index that the conference put out preseason. Just it's interesting to see what the expectations were going in and where each team kind of ended up. So I'm going to throw the bowl confidence index up on the screen now. At the very bottom, we have Missouri State and Kennesaw State, both below 20% confidence. New Mexico State and Middle Tennessee kind of around where I think people expected them to be. Delaware just a little bit higher at 29.7%. 17 bowl confidence. Who knows if this takes into account transition rules or not. I kind of don't know why the conference chose to do it like this and not preseason rankings or preseason poll or something, but that's what they did. So I'm going to try and kind of use this as something to jump off of. Above them, we have FIU, who had the preseason quarterback, Hall Conference quarterback. Is that right? They had a lot of preseason nods for all conference players. Had UTEP right above them, and Sam Houston above UTEP. Now, important to note is that the bottom 8 teams here are all below 50% bowl confidence index. So that means that the conference sort of assumed that a lot of these teams are going to wind up below 500. But what is interesting is the preseason indication of who was going to go to bowls. Here we have Louisiana Tech at 75%. Of course, Louisiana Tech's a good team. They always have a pretty talented roster. Jacksonville State, who's right above them, who post-transition to FBS has also looked pretty great. The Western Kentucky and Liberty here both have 100%, which is awesome, because not only does it put a target on your back in week 1, but also just has everyone bookmarking. People were bookmarking this for forever. I mean, obviously Liberty had college football playoff aspirations, if nothing else, going 12-0 this year. And just something to think about. Here's our bowl confidence index. Now my pecking order, I'm going to throw that up on the screen instead so we can compare. Number 12, we have Middle, who's only -3 from where they were projected to be at number 10. So it's not terrible for them. Or number 9, rather. UTEP -5 from where they were projected to end. Sam Houston also -5, who was right above UTEP. You remember that they were number 4 and 5, or 5 and 6 rather. New Mexico State somehow exceeds expectations in a year that they only won 4 games, here at number 9, which is 1 spot higher. I guess they were tied for 9th with Middle Tennessee, but I mean, still, it's good for them to be here. And then at number 8, we have Liberty, who of course missed a bowl game this year. Here being at number 8, that is a 7 spot drop from number 1. And I mean, that's just interesting, if nothing else. They're looking at their head coach. He had a quote today that was like, "We shouldn't blow it all up just to blow it all up." Him and whatever whatever that means. I would say that too if my job was on the line. But hey, it's not my hiring or hiring to make. I'm not in the Liberty office, but it's just something good to be watching for these next few weeks into the off season. The Chadwell experiment has not really gone the way that Liberty has wanted it to go thus far. We have Mo State here at number 7. From here on out, all the teams are me bowl teams. Mo State is my lowest bowl team, despite having a better record than a couple of other teams on this list, and I'll tell you why that is. Missouri State has won all the games that they've had to win this year. But they haven't had a great win to me. The only win that they've had over another bowl eligible team is FIU, and that's the only win they have against a team 6-6 or better. And that just gets you here at the bottom of the list. Everyone below them. In this pecking order, they played and beat, and that's great. That's exactly what they're supposed to do. And I'm glad they're going to a bowl game in year 1, just like we are, but this is where they are on this list. And that's no hate to Missouri State at all. I love Boog. I love all the guys, on Twitter and stuff. But have to move on from this. But +5 is really great. It's aside from Kennesaw, it's the biggest riser on this list. So props to Missouri State. Even here at number 7 at the very bottom of the bowl teams is the second biggest riser. At number 6, at one spot higher than projected, is FIU. This is kind of a disappointing season, I gather, for FIU fans. But they did rattle off like 3 or 4 wins straight at the end of the year to clinch bowl eligibility, which I didn't see coming. But good for them. Happy for them. Number 5 is La Tech. They started out number 4 preseason. They're down one spot. Kind of another story with La Tech to where you could call it a disappointing season if you want to. They got that big road win against Missouri State. If Missouri State won that game, they would have to go up in my rankings. But La Tech takes number 5. And honestly, I'm glad. I didn't expect to miss the La Tech guys that much going to the Sun Belt like right after. But shout out to Go Tech, Please Don't Die, and all those guys over there. They're very nice to us, and that goes a long way. And I'm glad that, I'm going to miss them, but maybe we'll meet up someday in the Sun Belt down the line, if things go Delaware's way down this stretch. Right above La Tech is Delaware. I think that between La Tech and Delaware, on a neutral field, they might go into 16-time overtime. I think the winner of that game depends on who's hosting it. So Delaware's just right above because they actually did win the game. But I think if that game was in Ruston, I think Louisiana Tech probably takes it, as we all kind of know from how that game went. But here at number 4, a hell of a season for Delaware. Super proud of the guys for getting those 6 wins with such, low-key like a pretty tough schedule. 3 wins against bowl teams. Of course, 2 losses to power teams, and then 2 losses to Western Kentucky and Jacksonville State, which are, obviously higher than us on this pecking order. Great teams in their own right. Western Kentucky just barely missing out on the not college football playoff, the championship game, the Conference USA championship game. But Delaware here at +4, they were projected to be the number 8 team. And here on my pecking order, they're number 4. So good for them. Of course, this is my ranking, so it doesn't really matter what I say. They aren't this high on the official conference standings. But like I said, it comes down to having a harder schedule. They lost one more game than a few other teams, but they played a harder schedule. I'm kind of rehashing myself here. Number 3 is Western Kentucky, down one spot from where they thought they'd be at number 2. Technically tied for number 1 with Liberty, but they're down one spot here. They didn't get everything that they wanted out of this season, but still a pretty good year, I think, for Western Kentucky. I did see Barstool Western Kentucky posted that picture of the Bugatti that's in the outdoor car park, like next to that like rundown house, and they're like caption this, it's like Western Kentucky in Conference USA, like, oh, we're too good for Conference USA. And so in that way, I'm kind of glad they're not in the conference championship. I don't think they have been for a few years now. But besides that, everyone else who I've met at Western is very nice. They took their win with grace, which you can't say for everybody necessarily, but I'm glad that they did. Then we have +9 here, Kennesaw. Kennesaw was slated to be the number 11 team in the Bowl Confidence Index, and for good reason. Honestly, they looked like ass last year, but they turned it around. Jerry Mack, he righted the ship, diverted them away from the iceberg that was going to sink their Titanic, and they had a hell of a year. They're the only team filling their stadium by percentage more than Delaware. On average, Delaware has almost 1,700 people come to each game. Of course, that's good for over 90% of capacity. But Kennesaw, his having 10 or 11,000 people come to Fifth Third Stadium, and that's good for over 100% of their capacity. It's a program that I could see doing a lot of good things here in the years to come. They strike me as a program that's on rocket fuel right now. So good for Kennesaw. I am scared to play them next year. I really hope we get them. We get them in Newark instead of down in Atlanta. And then number 1, Jacksonville State. I think they're going to win. I think they're going to win the conference. If you paid attention to their home record, they just play different at home. They're kind of like Delaware in that way, where you get Jacksonville State at home. They're number 3 in terms of percentage of the stadium being hold, and they're number 1 in terms of attendance, just raw number attendance. That place rocks when they have all the hands out there. Not a ton to do in Jacksonville, Alabama, I don't assume, but they get people out. The place is gonna be rocking, especially for a rematch of a rivalry game. I know Kennesaw is gonna be preparing for the conference championship game. But Jacksonville State playing at home, I like them to win, so that's why they're here at number 1. They're +2 from where they would be in 3rd place, but I mean, this is probably the most accurate of the projections as far as bowl confidence index. 91.67 for them was their bowl confidence index number, and here they are in the conference championship game, so good for them. Now on to the rival rundown. We have a little bit of news, not a whole lot of crazy news, but we do know from week 14 that Temple is missing a bowl game under year 1 with Casey Keeler. Is this us breaking the Casey Keeler curse? I don't know if that'll happen until we play Temple, or if it'll ever happen if he's going to retire before we actually get our hands on them. We will see. We're monitoring the situation here at Feathers and Field Goal, seeing if the Keeler curse will ever be broken. But they're missing a bowl game, which helped us get to where we were going. They dropped one late in the year in week 12, I believe. And then after that game, I knew they were playing Tulane at home and then North Texas on the road. And I said last week I didn't know what their record was at the time. I didn't do my research, but at the time I even knew they're going to lose the last 2 games of the year and they're going to miss bowl eligibility, and they did, which is great for us. We are the best team in the Philadelphia media market now, and it belongs to us. Thank you very much. And James Madison is losing their head coach, Bob Chesney, to UCLA, which, great news. I would go tarps off for this and start swinging my shirt around my head like that. Nothing good can ever happen in Harrisonburg. It's not a place that people want to stay for more than a couple years. We've learned this. We know this. I had some guy chirping me last night about Nick Minicucci transferring, and regardless if he does or doesn't, when compared to Harrisonburg, Virginia, Newark is a place that people want to play. People want to stay. There's good development. It's a good campus. It's a good school. The same cannot exactly be said for James Madison University. And that's evident by all their best players and coaches leaving as soon as they can. So glad for that. Happy for James Madison. Happy for Bob Chesney. Happy trails for him going off to UCLA to bake in the, on Venice Beach for the rest of his career, getting beat up by all the other teams in the Big Ten. Now we see where James Madison gets their next head coach from, if he's any good, and if maybe they'll have to go back to the FCS to go looking for maybe Lehigh's head coach, or maybe just move the whole team back down there, period, which would be great. So that's pretty much all I have for rival rundown. Just those two. Coastal Carolina has hit a bowl game, but they also lost their head coach. So that'll be something to watch for our game next year against Coastal, which we get them in September in Newark. So we'll be getting them out a kind of on the onset of a new head coaching hire. And so that will be something to look at, see who Coastal hires this offseason. It's all very interesting coaching carousel stuff. I'm just glad that we don't have to worry about that with Cardi as our head coach. Like I said, people want to come and stay here, which is great. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have for Rival Rundown. Back to you, Bryce.
Well, let's get into the bowl tracker. And thanks, Brody, for all of the pecking order and rival rundowns this season. It was really fun, and we're still trying to figure out post football how our segment's going to look, how our episode's going to work, how frequent our episode's going to be. The pecking order was a staple for a halfway point monologue for us, and the bowl tracker will have probably. This is the second of two monologues will happen, and I'll try to keep it really brief. The first one was talking about will a bowl happen, and these are the games you need to watch. Enough worked out in our favor to get to the second, so we're glad to be here at Feathers of Field Goals to have another one to talk about. Now it's to figure out where are we going to go next. I know my deposit's down to head to wherever we're going. Hopefully it's somewhere that we can all get to, and I'm curious to get these guys' thoughts on what their thoughts and where they want to go is. But Delaware football announced, of course, they're probably tracking this as well, but you can't really post about it until you get to that 6th win, and Alabama and other teams help you out. But so Conference USA has bowl ties to 14 different bowls. We have the Salute to Veterans Bowl in Montgomery, Alabama. That's the first one that I think Delaware could have a shot at, Tuesday, December 16th. We have a few others before, like a week before Christmas. On that Wednesday, the 17th, we have the Cure Bowl in Orlando, Florida, and the 68 Ventures Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. Friday morning, Myrtle Beach Bowl in Conway, South Carolina, in the Coastal Stadium. Coastal was there last year. I know they try to keep teams away from 2 years at the same place, but of course, Coastal without a head coach could be a simple placement there. So maybe we'll see Coastal before they come to Newark next year. That'll be something interesting to track, or maybe we'll see ourselves there regardless. The Bush's Boca Raton Bowl inside of Boca Raton, Florida, the following Tuesday, as well as the New Orleans Bowl, the Frisco Bowl on the 23rd. And then after Christmas, the 26th, there's the Sports Bowl in Michigan, Detroit. There's the First Responder Bowl in Dallas, Texas. So the 27th, there's the New Mexico Bowl. The 29th, that following Monday, there's the Birmingham Bowl in Birmingham, Alabama. There's the Independence Bowl in Louisiana. There's the Armed Forces Bowl that end of the week, that Friday, January 2nd. And we don't have a name and location yet for this last bowl that there was a lot of questions of. Is Delaware going to get a spot? Because the Bahamas Bowl isn't happening. But we at Feathers and Field Goals knew that this game was going to happen. We just don't know the name and location of it officially yet. Date to be determined, location to be determined. The ESPN events right now on our bowl tracker site, we just have it named as the Relocated Bahamas Bowl. So to be determined on location and sponsor of that event. I would expect us to be in one of those 14 bowls. So if you had to book a flight, book 14, cancel, 100% free cancelable flights to all 14 of those places if you really need to get done at those dates. You can check out our Feathers and Field Goals Bowl Tracker site. And as well on there, we have current bowl projections from a bunch of different websites. We have ESPN, we have CBS Sports, we have Hero Sports, Dan connected with Hero Sports. We have Sports Illustrated, we have College Football News, Pro Football Network, Athlon Sports. I might throw mine out there at the end of the week too. Maybe I'll make a bowl projection on this site at the end of the week. Me personally, I'm rooting for the Myrtle Beach Bowl at 11 a.m. kickoff. That's the only downside of it, but it's on a Friday, so I could enjoy the beach for a weekend after that. That sounds very ideal. It's one of the only ones driving distance from us here in the DMV area. What are your guys' hopes from this?
I would also love the Myrtle Beach Bowl. I just want a warm weather bowl. I know people have linked us to one of the cold northeastern bowls. Whether that's the one in Annapolis, which is, I mean, stone's throw from me. Literally, if I could skip the rock enough times, I could get it all the way over to Annapolis. But you know, between that one or the Fenway Bowl or the Pinstripe Bowl, of course, those tie-ins aren't really what Delaware would be looked at for, but you never know. I'm not looking at to one of those. I would like a warm weather game if beggars can be choosers in this instance. I guess we're not beggars anymore. We've earned our way in. But all that to say, I would love the Myrtle Beach Bowl, and I would love to play a team like Georgia Southern in a game like that. Of course, Delaware being 1-0 against 2026 Sun Belt teams this year. Let's make it 2-0. Really show our worth to maybe other conferences who might be interested in our brand, as well as the national media, who, of course, not everyone's watching every single bowl game, but it is just good to get your brand out there. My stepdad asked me, if the team gets to go to one of these low-tier bowl games, are we actually going to go? Like, what's it worth going? And I'd say it's absolutely worth going. And that's not even a question in my mind. I don't know why we'd have worked so hard to get to this point just to not go to whatever bowl game we're offered. If it's a bowl game that's down in New Orleans, so be it. I'd book the plane out, or maybe we would drive. But driving distance considered on all this, I would love the Myrtle Beach Bowl, because then I could actually go with relative ease.
I hear what you guys are saying about being attracted to warm weather, but to me, man, I came up on the FCS playoffs, okay? So, like, I was there in South Dakota, at South Dakota State. I was there in Montana, playing the Montana Grizzlies. So the chillier bowls do not offend my sensibilities. So I'm looking at Fenway. Like, I always circle back to that. I know it's not the tie-in to CUSA, at least not the primary tie-in, certainly. Looking at like an American ACC profile there. But I still think about, man, wasn't UConn in the Fenway Bowl recently? Like, UConn being an FBS independent, it's kind of like a pool team for the purposes of bowl tie-ins. Like, it's just more like a G5 or G6 type pool selection. So if the Fenway Bowl is looking for a G6 pool selection, by pool I just mean like wild card, like looking across the group of 6 conferences, then I could see Delaware being a candidate for Boston, Mass. Looking at a carving out path in the Northeast there, have kind of a regional presence in the bowl in case you're facing maybe an American team that's from further away. Like they're from Boston, I could see that, but I don't know.
I think the only way that I would,
because the reality is, with how sweaty my palms were in the midst of the Iron Bowl, it's just a blessing from a Delaware hat perspective to even be having this conversation. So, and to have avoided the situation where Missouri State is first in line with the overall record difference the Missouri State Bears enjoy. So I don't feel strongly about it, as you can maybe tell. I don't feel strongly about it. There are a couple places that if I can now be choosy and be picky, I think there are some more desirable options than others. Like, I think if I'm Delaware, I'd like to avoid the Bahamas Bowl successor, just because that doesn't have the same like history. It's probably like a whole new kind of concept. A bowl that, even if you want to call it a lower profile bowl, a bowl that's been in the same place for a number of years, it's kind of cool to have like play a part in the legacy of that continuing bowl at that same location. It doesn't have to be the Rose Bowl, obviously, but we're just talking any bowl that's been in the same place for a good number of years and even has the same sponsor, if you're lucky. That's kind of cool. Like, it's splitting hairs, but I do think that's kind of cool, and there's a difference there. So if I could wave a wand, I might like to avoid the Bahamas Bowl successor, but at the same time, that's contradictory of me to say, because the Bahamas Bowl having a successor is a major reason that there is a path to the postseason in the first place for Delaware, for there to be the number of slots where you do have those Missouri State and Delaware teams being the backfill. So in this transition year, so I'm not trying to disparage the future replacement of the Bahamas Bowl either. But if I had to wave a wand, I'd probably like to avoid that, and I'd probably want to avoid games in Frisco, just because I associate Frisco with national championship stakes. And as much as we're definitely celebrating from a Delaware perspective and excited that Delaware earned a postseason berth this season, the Frisco Bowl or the possible Bahamas Bowl maybe going to Frisco, that doesn't, I just, my brain does not like compute those things. Like just, last time I was in Frisco with Delaware, it was a national title game. So like, I think some fans might feel with me on that, where it's a matter of, like, again, I'm not going to come on the next podcast and start complaining if that's where Delaware is. We'll be talking about the opponent and all those things and trying to win a bowl title, regardless of what the name at the top is. So don't get me wrong. Just want to put that disclaimer out there. But I wouldn't be real and authentic with like the listeners and the viewers if I wasn't sharing what I'm honestly putting through my head a little bit in terms of, well, if I could have it exactly our way, I might want to not do Frisco, not have Frisco be the draw, not have the Bahamas Bowl successor be the draw. But Detroit or Boston, Detroit's indoors, first of all, but then Detroit or Boston, it's just kind of cool to have that kind of FBS Northeastern or at least FBS Northern ethos.
That's true. I think I thought about it a little bit here. I would accept a cold weather bowl if we were playing some warm weather team. We could pound the rock all game, throw it over the top once their safeties come in the box. Like really treat them how a northeastern team treats a.
But here's the thing.
A warm weather team in a bowl game like that.
Here's the thing, though. We Sam Houston's warm weather. It's like you don't just show up and like start bullying a team just because of the regional difference. Now, I get what you're saying. I totally get it. It would be a chance to.
You
to
do
make
that because you're better. And Delaware, being the best of the 50 states, it's easy. Anyways,
Fenway would be really fun. It's not one I've really thought about, but like I would really like it if it turned out that way. It's another one of those. I think it'd be an honor to play in Fenway Park or Yankee Stadium. If the pinstripe one happened, I don't think either one of those are happening. But those are one of the only two driving distance ones compared to the Myrtle Beach that are possible.
Oh, and by the way, not slighting Annapolis, but the last time Delaware was in Annapolis, it's different when you're in Annapolis facing Navy. Like facing Navy in Annapolis, that's definitely a big part of Delaware's history in non-conference games. But so that's one thing. But I don't know how much it excites me. And again, I'm just talking about the location and the setting, not the bowl itself and the opportunity to be in the postseason to begin with. Just the location itself. I don't know how much that excites me because it's just a stadium that many Delaware fans have been in, and it just had played before. So
yeah, I was there for
that's my last one. If I had to be picky, which I'll entertain, I'll indulge. That's another one where I'd be a little picky about.
I was at the game where it was proud to be a clucking blue hen game there in Annapolis, and that was a great time. And I mean, I would love that one. I know they usually
military probably don't have to worry about either though because it's ACC American historically, right?
I was going to say, yeah, those are ones I'm not really even thinking about. So like when you look at the overall list, we have our own list of like probably like more likely ones on feathers and field goals. Like the Bull Tracker had big hits, especially after they got the 6 wins against UTEP. Like I did see our site had like probably like if you like break down the derivative of like time from like the 4 p.m. and 10 p.m. like that 6-hour window was probably the most our site's ever been looked at. So like thank you to the listener if you like followed us in this journey because all three of us were sitting around watching these games together and talking about it. So we have more planned for this episode, but like this bowl is like so much fun. We might have to save our 3 and out that we talked about. I think we should just save this for next episode. I don't know about you guys, but I think we should just.
I'm good with that.
We could just push it off once we figure out our bowl, and then we can dive into maybe the season as a whole. We could even save this for after the bowl, but we're gonna dive into a 3 and out fun part of the season eventually. Today, I think it makes sense to close this one out, and as we get into the fun part, I think on Sunday I think around noon, if it follows normal tracking here at ESPN, they're going to have their college football playoff. This is the fun part for the casual fans. They'll get their 1 through 12. They'll get their playoff schedule, and then all of us will get our bowl schedule after that. So we're kind of last on the pecking order in terms of games that we get. But us Blue Hen fans are going to be waiting for that release. I think last year was like a 3-hour show from 12 to 3 where they announced the bowls. And I mean, I hope to go. Like I've always said, I think like, to finalize my preference, I think my preference is away from the 24th to the 26th as best as possible. Even if that's only a day. If it's the 23rd or the 27th, I'm game. But like that Christmas time, especially if you have to drive, especially if you have to fly, it could be tough. Like I was looking at the Detroit game, and I'm hoping a MAC team takes that because I think that the normal time is a MAC versus a Big Ten team
Right.
based off of like past. But I know Conference USA has had backfills in the past, and this whole bracketology, I love college basketball. Like March Madness bracketology is so much easier than this bowl stuff. Like this bowl stuff doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And I'm trying to like piece these games together and trying to figure out trends. I try to look at Conference USA trends in the past. I'm like, does the champion go to this bowl versus another G5 champion? No, it doesn't work like that. So like I have no idea where we're going. So and you look at our site and I give you different projections other people are saying. None of them know anything. It's just all fun. This week should be fun because like it looking back in August, I don't think any of us would have projected to be here, even though you both said 6 wins. But like the mindset of having a bowl like wasn't on our minds, I don't think. So like this should all be fun. Look at all the bowl trackers and enjoy them. Just picture yourself at all the different cities. Maybe I'm picturing myself in Mobile, Alabama, in a few weeks from now, and I'll be there with you. So let's enjoy this. Let's enjoy this process together. Thanks so much for being with us here for another episode of Feathers and Field Goals. This is the fun part of the year. Before we have to get into who's leaving the team, who's joining the team, let's enjoy this early December together as we get a 13th game. This is like our second round of the FCS playoff game here for Blue Hens fans. We're getting ready to get on the road after a home playoff first round win like we've had in years past. So thanks for being with us here at Feathers and Fields for another episode. Bryce, Dan, and Brody here, and we will catch you next week to finally figure out our bowl, and we'll get into our normal scheduling from there. So thanks so much, and goodbye from us here at Feathers and Field Goals.